Hey everyone! Ready to dive into some super interesting stuff about empowering women as we head into 2025?
I am.
Great. We've got a really cool collection of sources for this deep dive.
Oh.
Yeah. We've got polls, articles,
Yeah.
even some newsletter excerpts, and it's all from this amazing woman, Lindy Thorpe.
Oh.
She's 72 years old,
Uh,
and she made this huge leap from academia to a thriving online business.
oh.
I know, right? So think of her as our, expert guide for this whole conversation.
I like that.
So to kick things off, let's talk about this LinkedIn poll Lindy ran.
Okay.
Over 4,000 women responded. And the question was all about their biggest priorities for growth in 2025. Yeah. The options were things like mentorship, learning new skills, building wealth, taking bold action.
Okay, so like the big picture stuff.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
The results were actually pretty surprising.
Oh, I'm intrigued now.
I know. So before we reveal the winner, take a second and think about what you would choose from that list.
All right.
It's a good way to kind of tap into what women are really focusing on right now.
Makes sense.
Okay, drum roll please. The number one priority with a whopping 50% of the votes was learning new skills.
Really?
Yeah. Building wealth came in second at about 30%, and taking bold action followed closely behind.
Huh. That's interesting. You'd think with everything going on in the world right now, financial security would be like everyone's top concern.
Totally. But I think this really shows a shift in mindset, doesn't it?
It does.
And Lindy actually talks about this in one of her articles.
Oh.
Yeah. She makes the point that in a world that's changing so rapidly, especially with tech evolving like crazy, the ability to learn new things is more valuable than ever.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like knowledge is the new currency or something.
Exactly. And it's not just about career stuff either.
Oh.
Yeah, Lindy points to a bunch of comments from the poll where women are talking about wealth in a more holistic way. Like they're talking about wealth in terms of knowledge, relationships, even personal well-being.
That's really cool. It's like they're redefining what success actually means.
Totally. There's this one comment that really stood out to me from a woman named Tiba Al-Khalidi.
Okay.
She said, building wealth is definitely on my radar this year, but not just financially. Wealth in knowledge relationships and well-being is equally important.
I love that. It's like she's saying that true success is about more than just money.
Right. It's about feeling fulfilled on multiple levels.
Exactly.
And this is where I think Lindy's perspective is so valuable. She's not just giving generic advice. She's tapping into something much deeper.
Yeah, something that really resonates with women today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And she doesn't shy away from the challenges either. Before we get into Lindy's inspiring journey, I think it's important to acknowledge some of the obstacles that women in this age group are facing.
Yeah, for sure.
We're talking about things like hitting those career plateaus, struggling to balance work and family, dealing with the gender pay gap, and the financial insecurity that can come with all of that.
It's a lot, and I think a lot of women feel like they're going through these things alone.
Absolutely. And sometimes it's hard to even know where to start. Right.
It can be, yeah. But I'm curious to hear how Lindy addresses these issues.
Let's get into it.
So Lindy has this article called Barriers to Success, Identifying and Overcoming Obstacles.
Okay.
And she breaks down the barriers into these three main categories: career growth barriers, financial insecurity, and then work-life burnout.
And I'm guessing she goes deeper than just women need more mentors or better childcare options.
Oh, yeah, totally. She gets super specific.
Like how?
Well, she talks about things like internalized limiting beliefs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then lack of access to certain networks and even the mental load that women carry, which can totally impact their career and finances.
That's so true. It's like there's this invisible pressure that we often don't even realize is there.
Exactly. And she gives this example of negotiation skills.
Right.
A lot of women hesitate to negotiate for higher salaries or better benefits because they've been conditioned to be more accommodating, or they're afraid of seeming too aggressive.
It's like we're following this unspoken script.
Right. And these beliefs can be just as powerful as any external barrier.
I see that.
But here's the good news. Lindy doesn't just point out the problems. She gives us actionable solutions.
Okay, so what are some of the things she suggests? How do we actually overcome these barriers?
Well, she talks a lot about mindset shifts.
Okay.
For example, she encourages women to see failure as a learning opportunity.
I love that. It's like
Yeah.
embracing that growth mindset, right?
Exactly. And she's also big on community and mentorship.
Yeah, there's so much power in that.
Totally. She believes that connecting with other women who get it, who are going through similar stuff, can be incredibly empowering.
It's that feeling of we're in this together.
Right.
Like we've got each other's backs.
Right. And she even gives practical advice on how to build that community.
Like what?
Well, she suggests joining online groups, attending industry events, even creating your own little mastermind group.
Okay, so it's like taking action and actually creating that support system.
Yeah. She actually has this free guide on her website called Find Your Tribe.
Ooh, I like that.
It helps you connect with women who can support your journey.
So helpful. But I know some women listening are probably thinking, okay, this is all great, but where do I even begin? It feels so overwhelming. Does Lindy address that at all?
She does. She has this analogy in one of her newsletters where she compares achieving success to climbing a mountain.
Okay, I'm listening.
She says, you don't just wake up one day and poof, you're at the top. It's about taking it one step at a time, setting realistic goals, and celebrating those small wins along the way.
I love that. It's like breaking it down into bite-sized pieces.
Exactly. And that brings us to her Escape the 9-to-5 Grind workbook.
Okay, tell me more.
So she has this framework called the STRIVE framework, and it stands for Skill Up Target Resources, Invest, Validate, and Elevate.
Wow, that's a mouthful. Break it down for me.
Okay, so Skill Up is about figuring out what skills you need to reach your goals.
Yeah.
We talked about learning new stuff, but she takes it further and suggests creating a skill audit.
What's a skill audit?
It's basically taking stock of your current skills, figuring out what's missing, and then making a plan to learn those things.
Got it. So it's like making sure you have the right tools for the job.
Yes. Then Target is all about setting those clear, specific, measurable goals.
Goal setting is so important.
It is. But Lindy's advice goes beyond just the SMART goal stuff.
Really?
Yeah, she wants women to really dig deep and connect with their why. Like, what's the deeper purpose behind those goals? What impact do they want to make?
Because if you're connected to your why, it's easier to stay motivated around.
Totally. Then we have resources, which is all about being smart and utilizing what's available to you.
I feel like this is where things get really practical.
It is. We're talking about things like online courses, mentorship programs, even grants and funding opportunities.
It's about being resourceful, right?
Exactly. And her workbook is packed with specific resources.
Awesome.
Okay, next up is invest. And it's not just about money, though. That's part of it.
Okay.
Lindy also talks about investing your time and energy wisely.
Makes sense. It's like being mindful of where you're putting your focus.
Yeah. Then we have validate. This one's really cool. Lindy encourages women to test their ideas and get feedback.
Oh, smart. So you're not just jumping in blindly.
Right. It's about getting real-world validation before you go all in on something.
I love that.
And she has this validation checklist in her workbook that you can use.
This framework is so useful.
I know, right? And finally, we have elevate, which is all about that continuous improvement mindset.
Like always striving to be better.
Exactly. And she emphasizes celebrating those wins along the way, no matter how small.
Because those small wins can really boost your confidence and keep you going.
They totally do. So yeah, that's the STRIVE framework in a nutshell.
It's amazing. It's so clear and actionable.
I know. And I think it really shows how Lindy blends strategic thinking with practical advice.
It's not just about fluffy motivation. It's about actually giving women the tools to make things happen.
Exactly. And that's what makes her such a valuable resource for women.
I'm curious what inspired Lindy to create this framework. Was there like a turning point in her own life that led her to this work?
That's a great question, and she actually talks about it in her workbook. She mentions how for years she felt stuck in her career.
Really?
Yeah, she had this passion for empowering women, but didn't feel like she was making a real impact.
So she was kind of experiencing those same barriers we talked about, like feeling stuck, maybe even a bit of burnout.
Exactly. She talks about hitting a wall in her academic career and feeling lost.
Wow.
And then at age 69, she decided to start her own online business.
69. That's incredible. Talk about a bold move.
Right. And she's super open about the challenges she faced.
Like what?
Well, she had to learn all these new skills, build a network from scratch, and overcome her own doubts.
But she did it. And now she's helping other women do the same.
Yeah. And in that process, she realized that the things that helped her succeed could help other women too.
So her personal journey became the foundation for her work.
Totally. And I think that's why her message is so powerful. It's not just theory, it's lived experience.
And it shows that it's never too late to make a change.
Exactly.
It's inspiring to see so many women breaking free from those traditional paths and redefining success.
It is. And I think a lot of that comes from the online community.
Yeah, women supporting women.
Right. It all connects back to those poll results. The fact that learning new skills was the top priority for women says a lot.
It does. It shows this desire to grow and take control.
And Lindy's work gives us a roadmap for doing just that.
This has been such a great deep dive.